both of your parents were super accomplished entrepreneurs, public servants, musicians, and so much more. What was it like growing up in a household with them?
So one of the things I really love about my parents is that they always shared stories, and it was like in the house. So I feel like I've known them before I was here. I got to hear the stories of how they met. My father was a rep for Motown. He was the advance person in Cincinnati for folks when they come to Cincinnati. He would have to do the advance work for Motown because Mr. Gordy was very particular. And so he really met Motown through my great uncle because he knew someone who was a secretary at Motown. And so he took my father when he was in high school to Detroit. And when my father saw that and seeing a black-owned entrepreneur, Mr. Gordy, and all of his operations, he said, I want to go into, this business. I want to be an entrepreneur. So at the time, he thought he wanted to be in the music industry. So that's how he got that position. And so then he started a program called Operation Step Up. He wrote it. I believe he's like 21 years old. It was they had riots here in the 60s. And he thought this would be a way to bring people together, get them out through music. And so he wrote this program called Operation Step Up, and he ran into Mayor Ruhlman at the time, was the mayor of Cincinnati. And he told him about this idea, but he didn't think he would go with it. And Mayor Ruhlman said, this is what we need. Because we didn't have talent shows back then. So this was the first talent show, traveling talent show. He always said this was before American Idol. And he would go and get people from the West End, from Avondale, different places. We had all these great people who were singing, but they were singing on their porches. And he had this show. You would compete, and you'd be able to win some cash. But then also he had a program, I think, through Xavier, where you could get training and then possibly go on to college. Well, one of the competitions was down at Taft High School. My father had Red Fox as the MC.
Wow.
And my mother showed up, but her band did not show up. And my father said, well, no, you can't go on. We're not doing a cappella. You don't have your band. And a lot of people in the audience, they used to call her baby Aretha. Aretha Franklin was her idol, and they thought she had a similar voice. Mm-hmm. And so they said, you got to let her go. And my dad said, no, she knows the rules. She signed up with the band. Well, Red Fox said, man, give her a chance. Let her go ahead and, go on out there. The people shouting for her, let her go. So he let her perform. And when I'm told, he heard the voice, and it was like, whoa. And so they would later go on and get married and have me. And she recorded a self-titled album. My father wanted to have an independent label, so he wanted to become what Berry Gordy, had done. But he wanted to do it in Cincinnati, so he had his own label, Steve Reece Productions, and he went into the studio with a live band and everything, and recorded, and he wrote some of the songs. And my mother, Barbara Howard, On the Rise was the album. And still to this day, people will talk about how meticulous he was about the album cover and how it, how it looks high quality. It didn't look like just an independent label. And you got to remember back then, independent label, it's not like it is, today. It was hard. There was no social media to help you get out there. You had to really hustle, and it was hard to get distribution deals. So just all of what he put into this album, and the sound quality and everything, people to this day say, he really was ahead of his time. And so my mother would perform on national TV. And she was on the David Frost Show and some other popular shows. Upbeat was kind of similar to Soul Train back in those days. And I would just see my mom, getting her outfits and getting ready to, perform. And it just became like normal. And at the Cincinnati Music Festival, which is what it's called today, it was called the Ohio Valley Jazz Festival. My father was involved. That was one of their company's contracts. And so I would go to the music festivals because I didn't go to babysitters. I went with my parents, and they would say, sit here, be quiet, and don't be, that was their whole thing. Sit here, don't be quiet, and don't be seen. In other words, don't let anyone know you're here. because you're a baby, you're young, you're not supposed to be here. But I didn't know what I was watching or listening to, but I'm like in the room, I'm there, I'm on the stage, I'm watching all of this process go on. I told you more than anyone as far as that story. Yeah.
We got an exclusive. That's awesome.
That's a side that people probably don't really know as much about.